G'day, I'm Nick Clemens from UQS and welcome to our podcast Beyond the Guesstimate, where we explore the concept of cost-informing design. I've been in the construction sector since 1993 and pretty much that whole time I've been frustrated about how the industry works. So in this podcast, we sort of talk to different people around that sort of broad concept of cost-informing design. So I'm interested in the technical sides of construction, interested in process side of things, but also the people side of things. And today we're going to be focusing a bit on that. So the theme, I guess if it was going to be a theme today, is lifelong learning is sort of the thoughts I've been gathering together around this. So what I've sort of come to realise is that we all build on the knowledge that we've gained through our careers. So something interesting with the team at UQS is that we've got a real mixture of not only characters but backgrounds, and very few of us actually trained as being quantity surveyors. So there's a couple of guys came straight out of quantity surveying, but most of us had other careers that we've been involved in and then retrained in quantity surveying. And that it creates an interesting dynamic within the team. So we've got engineers, we've got builders, we've got architects, mechanics, we even got a sheep shearer. So it takes all sorts to bring into the team. And yeah, for me, I started as one of those. So and that may be why the team is sort of quite diverse, is my background is pretty diverse. I started life as a storeman when I left school for an engineering company. I've worked as a lagger, so installing industrial insulation on building sites and in factories and the like. And I started training part-time as an engineer and ended up getting, attracted by the shiny lights of sales and marketing. So I trained as an engineer, but got into sales engineering and then moved through into marketing and business. And ultimately in marketing, I ended up as marketing manager at Carter's, which is sort of where I first got into the building industry. And it's something I reflect on quite a bit, is all of the different things that I've done through my career have kept sort of building on the knowledge. And in this current role, so what I'm doing now with UQS, so when I got out of marketing, I got into IT, still with Carter Holt Harvey. I'd never really considered myself that interested in IT, but I really liked what IT could do for me in terms of being a productivity tool. And over the years, as I've got more and more into it and built more and more skills and knowledge around it, it's really become an important part of what I do and I guess what I am. And it's very much the sort of foundation of what we've got in UQS it's I call it a technology enhanced service. So using technology is a big part of what we do. And that's come out of sort of my lifelong learning. So my building of skills and learning different things, and that sort of flows through and reflects into the business and reflects into how we work. And I think it reflects into the team that we've pulled together. So we've got people that have had those different backgrounds but have trained as quantity surveyors and then bring that mix of skills to our business. And so today's going to be a bit different. We actually got one of our team members on the podcast today. So welcome, Taki Tuhaka. Mm-hmm. So Taki's been with our team for what?
6.5 years.
6.5 years,
yep.
Yeah. So he was one of the early employees with UQS, and like me, he's got quite a diverse background. So I thought today we'd just maybe talk through a bit about sort of how he got into the construction sector and a bit of his background and sort of how he's learned things along the way that have made him the person he is today, and also given him the skills for what he does within our team. So Taki, how did you? Where did you start off with your working career?
So, my dad's a builder, or was a builder. So I don't know whether I chose to get into the building industry or whether I was born into the building industry, as it were. Growing up, I would be, cutting firewood, sweeping floors, and just different things like that on the building site.
So this was in Auckland?
Yeah, this was in Auckland. Yeah. I was born and raised in Mangere, and my dad was one of the early builders in Mangere. He did a lot of work for the tomato glass houses, and he's one of the well-known builders in Mangere. So he built our house that we grew up in as well. So building's in the blood, I guess. And I know when I was at school, wasn't really sure what I wanted to do. My mum wanted me to be either a doctor or a lawyer. That wasn't really what I was wanting to do. I enjoyed sports, so and PE was one of the things that
your specialist subject.
Yeah, it was my specialist subject. So I was thinking about doing something along the lines of being a PE teacher or something like that. The other thing I enjoyed was money. And I actually, did quite well at accounting. So was either PE teacher or become an accountant were my options. So when it actually came to that time to make the decision on what I wanted to do, I found out that I had to spend another 3 or so years learning in a school type environment, and I didn't want to do that. So I kind of just fell into building. That was my choice. The old man wouldn't let me sit at home. So
right.
yeah.
So were you, academically, you're actually okay, were you? Because a lot of people get into building because school and academic just isn't for them, and they get into a physical trade. So it sounds like you could have gone down the academic route if you wanted to.
Yeah, I could have actually. I can't remember exactly now, but I think for school C accounting, I got 98 or something like that. Yeah. So I did and maths as well. They're quite good at those subjects, but I couldn't see myself doing any more school. I just really wanted to get into work.
Right.
The quickest way to do that was to start building. Right. So that's kind of how I got into building.
So did you start with your dad, or?
No, I didn't start with my dad. I did pre-trade carpentry at Unitec. That was in 97. Did that. So that was the start of my building journey, as it were. Official building journey. Did that at Unitec for a year. And then I started working after that. One of the builders at church, I first started working with him. So he was similar to my dad as well, just a one-man sort of builder with maybe an apprentice or a couple of apprentices. Yeah, so that was my first building stint.
And so how long were you working for him and doing building, physical building work? Yeah,
so I was working for him while I was at Unitec. So I would work for him on Fridays was the day that you had to go and get some real life learning. Yeah. If we didn't make it to the movies, then we got a job and started working. So I really enjoyed that. Really enjoyed working. And I would actually work with my dad as well from time to time. As builders, especially the smaller builders, sort of ran out of work. Then you would sort of jump from one builder to another builder. And fortunately, I had my dad there as a backup. So I jumped between a friend that was the builder at church and then my dad as well. Yeah, right. So I was doing that for at least a couple of years after I finished at Unitec as well.
Yeah. And what did you move on to next after that?
I kept building for a while. I had another builder at church and I started working with him. So he was working with a big property developer. So it was good, having those different builders and different businesses and outfits and developments to work under. So I learned a lot.
Is it all just residential, or are you doing a variety?
Mostly residential. They'll do both my dad and Kelly, who was the other builder, they would work doing a lot of like commercial work as well, but it was mostly residential, and they had a good mix of building as well. So my dad did a lot of state houses, like living in Mangere. So a lot of his work he could just do in that suburb or the next suburb over. Didn't have to travel across Auckland like a lot of builders have to do these days. And then Kelly did a lot of architectural type building as well, because he knew a lot of architects, so he did a lot of that type of work and a lot of renovation work. So had a really good mix of the different type of work, but did a little bit of commercial, but that reflects in kind of my comfort zone these days, which is more residential. Yeah.
So what did you notice differences between, so you worked for a few different building companies, were there differences sort of how they worked, and did you learn different things from the different guys that you worked for?
Yeah, there were a lot of differences. A lot of things were the same. I was fortunate enough to work with a couple of really hardworking builders. They would work by the sweat of their brow, as it were, and that meant that I was fortunate enough to be passed on a really good work ethic from those builders. They were both hard men as well. So after I finished working for them, any other bosses or builders that I worked for were pretty relaxed and pretty easy to work for after working for those two builders.
So was it hard in terms of their expectations of what they expected from you, or the quality of the work, or
I think
how they dealt with you? Or?
Yeah, just everything. Just that work ethic about not watching, not just standing and looking, but just trying to think about how you build. And I know a lot of that can come into how builders can be more efficient these days. Is what I've noticed throughout the years is when you get a lot of young builders or young apprentices, they don't quite have that ability to watch and see, because a lot of building is repetitive.
Yeah,
it's just repeat work. So you hang a door, you do the same process with all the doors in the house. There's nothing changes. But I found that there was a lot of guys would ask, "Oh, what do you do next? What do you do next?" After you've done 7 doors, and they're still asking, "What do you do next?" So I picked up quite early that a good way of building is to understand that there's a process to every job that you do, and then to become more efficient is to become better at that process. And then if you can do that and repeat that, then that goes a good way, a long way to building better.
Yeah, and it's something that that's part of the reason, I guess, why, like you, I'm sort of residential focused, is that it does tend to be quite repeatable. That the houses end up looking different, but the bits that actually go into it and how you go about building them can be quite similar and can be quite repetitive. So it does give you, from our point of view, in terms of our systems, the ability to be able to understand and turn into an algorithm how the costs for how you do that, because it is repeatable. And so it's interesting to hear that it's the same sort of thinking actually applies physically doing the work on site, which I guess makes sense, because what we're trying to do is replicate what happens on site in our software.
Yeah. I think a lot of what happens, and even with the more bespoke and more architectural type of buildings, it's actually the same principles, the same building principles you need to apply. It doesn't matter what the design is or what the type of building is. Things need to be square, plumb, level. They need to be fixed on with some type of fixing. So although buildings may look different, in terms of architectural builds compared to, your sort of box type houses, it's just the same sort of principles. And especially with the bigger houses, we also learned that a big house is just a small house, but done a lot of times. So
just more of it.
Some of the guys can get overwhelmed with big buildings or big projects or big architectural type houses, but we learned over time that you just break it down into a smaller sort of job and just focus on that, and then just repeat that, and before you know it, you've completed the bigger job that you thought you couldn't do.
Yeah. So how long did you spend working as a carpenter, then working for these builders?
So it's probably a good 7 years after I did my pre-trade carpentry. Again, just the types of builders that I was working with sort of would jump from project to project, get a big project, need more help, and then a smaller project will come along, or they'll be waiting for the next project to start, which was quite good. I enjoyed sort of learning off the different builders, whether it was my dad or Kelly or working with the developer. You just kind of learn a lot of good things, and you take things that you think you can do or you really enjoy, or how it suits your style, and then also learned a lot about what not to do, especially with the developer. So I had some good experiences and bad experiences, for want of a better way to describe it. But I think they all helped sort of to shape my learnings over the years, and how I see the industry and approach the industry.
So where did you go to next after you'd done the building work?
So I was building. I was still playing footy at the time, and not ready to hang the boots up. So I decided I'll hang the tools up. I actually, working with my dad, and especially when I was younger, my dad was a really good builder. He was a builder joiner, and so they built everything. They built the windows back in those days. Right. Learned how to do all that. So he, from I was born and raised on the east coast of the North Island, the rugged east coast, and being rural and also sort of being isolated. They had to learn.
So he did his time down there, did he?
Yeah, he did it down there. He was born and raised on the East Cape, and then they moved into Gisborne when they were sort of at high school age. And so he did his high schooling at Gisborne. And then straight from there, he went into do his apprenticeship as a carpenter joiner. And he was basically in those days, they did all the woodwork, all the joinery, a lot that's what's done in the factories now, and prefabricated.
Yeah, you don't
they
hear
had to do everything.
Joiner nowadays, do you?
No, you don't hear that nowadays. So, and it was quite good to work under someone that knew how to do all that sort of work. And so he was quite rough when he needed to be rough, but then at the same time, very, fine and detailed when he needed to be. So that it was good to sort of learn under that.
Yeah, it's always a trade-off you got to learn is sort of, because the trade-off, the balance between how much time you put into something and the result you get out of it. And so sometimes you got to do it quickly. You can't afford to put a lot of time into it. And other times you have to be very thorough and very detailed, and you have to invest the time because the consequences, if you get it wrong, are so much greater. So it sounds like you would have learned that balancing act with working for him. Yeah,
I did learn that. And sort of being someone who's sort of naturally a perfectionist was something that I had to learn and keep learning. And as I moved into the different roles, that was something that I had to keep trying to learn, within the different role, what was, too perfect, as it were, or, how could you do something a little bit better, a little bit quicker, a little bit more efficient, than taking too much time on it.
Yeah, actually, that reminds me of when I was a lagger, insulating pipe work, and I remember working on it was called the Regent Hotel then in downtown Auckland, and we were doing all this pipe work and stuff, and I was working with these old English laggers, and exactly that, you could smash it out, but it'd be rough as, or you could take forever and make it perfect. But some of you had to get the balance, so you had to get the productivity. They needed a certain amount done, they expected a certain amount from you, so it was a matter of figuring out, if it was visible, you maybe spend a bit more time making it look nice, but if it was around the back, you just made sure it was functional, you didn't waste the time on it. And then learning it from those old English pommy tradesmen was part of my learning experience.
Yeah, I think that's really something that the industry on the whole could learn a lot more about, not leaving it up to individuals to try and find that balance, but giving them a little bit more guidance on that. I know when I was working through my apprenticeship in the earlier days of working through it, and there was always that when you're doing your apprenticeship, they want you to complete a task within they call it a commercial time,
right?
And I would always ask them, so how long is this commercial time? Because I think it differs from builder to builder, and they just said it really depends on the builder. And for me, it was a little bit subjective. I needed something a little bit more objective that I could, that's the time so I can work towards that, rather than just say, do this task, and if you're doing it quick enough, then we'll let you know. If you're not, then we'll let you know. I
can see why you ultimately became an estimator.
Yeah.
Because we're the ones figuring out how long we think's a commercial time. So I know you've done a variety of things. So what was your next, so after building, what did you get into next?
Yeah, so I
guess you're saying you're it's either building or rugby, sports. So you decided sports and you're back off on the building. So that meant a less physical job.
Yeah, so I was looking for a less physical job. I lived in Mount Roscoe at the time, and just around the corner, literally around the corner, was a timber merchant. So I didn't mind door knocking. I went around door knocking, and the first place I went to was the place that was closest to where I live, was a timber merchant. And so I knocked on their door and said, I'm a builder, I've done pre-trade carpentry, my dad's a builder, I've got all this building experience, playing footy, but I'm not ready to get in it, hanging the boots up yet, so I'm looking to get into something a little bit easier. And they, fortunately, I met the wife of the owner, and so she took to me really early as a young guy looking to make his way in the industry. And then I spent, I think, the next day and the next couple of days knocking on doors. And then, I think it was only a few days after that, I got a call from the first door I knocked on, which was a timber merchant, and they offered me work as an estimator. So that's how I started to get into estimating and costing and sort of that side of things.
So how did you find it when you first got thrown into that? Because I guess like most tradies, you're not actually trained estimating as part of what you do. So how did you find it when you first got sort of thrown a job to estimate?
Yeah. So fortunately, I was pretty reasonable at maths and
you got
and accounting.
School C.
So that helped. And I did wonder when I was at school. I was a bit of a cheeky student, and I did say to my maths teachers, "Oh, what do we need all this for? I don't think I'm going to use this out there in the real world." And then I discovered that as an estimator, I actually did need some of that maths, and so that came in quite handy when I needed to become a estimator.
And so back then, how were you estimating? What was the process you were going through back in those days?
Yeah, so I was fortunate to train under a really good QS. He taught me how to do everything manually. It was just sort of starting to get into using Excel spreadsheets a lot more, doing everything with software and on computers. So I basically started right from scratch, learning how to estimate with a pen and a pad and a calculator and a scale ruler, which was really good. That just gave me a really good foundation for learning estimating. And I really appreciate that. I think a lot of that gets lost now with the computers and with the technology. So I do consider myself, really fortunate to have gone through that and learned that way of doing things. When the millennium, when everyone thought the computers were going to shut down, I
wasn't too worried.
Yeah, I wasn't too worried. I knew how to do my job without the computer.
And so there you also got into frame and truss detailing for those guys?
Yeah, so I was with them for around about 6 years. And I think it was around about 2002. Yeah, 2002 that I started with them. And they had 2 branches, and they had one of their branches, they were doing frame and truss building, pre-cut, pre-nail. And part of what we had to do as estimators was work out the actual costs. So it was a quote that we were giving for the actual cost of their customers' pre-cut, pre-nail. So from that, we learned how to design the trusses, because that was all done on software. So we had to learn that software to design the trusses, and then that would give us our costing and our pricing to be able to generate our quote for pre-cut, pre-nail.
So how do you think the experience you had from being a practical builder, so actually doing building work, how do you think that translated into what you were doing estimating? And I presume it helped you understand what you were doing and work out things?
Yeah, so it was really good. I think just learning what the products were, learning how to build according to the plans. Again, I was fortunate enough to be able to be taught how to read plans, which is missing a lot in the industry these days. A lot of qualified builders that I discovered never got to read plans. They're given a task, and if they complete that task, then they gets ticked off on there towards their qualification. But a lot of the reading of plans was done by the foreman and site managers and things like that, and not by the builders themselves. So I was fortunate enough to be able to learn how to be taught how to read plans. So I could read plans. I knew what materials were. I knew how to build and put those materials together to form what was shown on the plans. So when I got into estimating, everything just seemed like it was second nature.
All right.
Yeah. I could visualize it, even though I had never been to site, or it could be some different material or different type product. But because I had already built with a similar type of product and with a similar type of system, that I already could visualize, what needed to be done, and even think about things that are not on the plans that could have an impact in terms of costs.
Yeah, that's certainly useful from an estimator point of view.
Yeah.
I guess for a merchant, there was mainly just materials takeoffs, materials in the frame and truss detailing.
Yeah.
So how do you think what you learned with doing the practical building sort of transferred across to what you're doing with merchant estimating? So obviously merchants primarily interested in materials and then the frame and truss type stuff.
Yeah. I think a lot of part of being involved with a merchant as well is that it's about selling the products. And part of the selling the products is knowing about the builders and knowing about the projects and knowing how we can best serve them in those areas to meet the jobs and projects that they're trying to build. And I did find that as a builder, I was a little bit limited in exposure to a lot of the different types of materials and a lot of the different types of builders and how they operate. Also limited in the different types of designers. So it was good because working as an estimator, I'd literally be working on different set of plans, a different project for a different builder every day. I got quite used to getting a broad view of the different types of projects, different types of materials, different types of builders, and then how can we as a merchant be able to meet all those varying needs?
So certainly from my experience with Carter's exactly that you're really dealing with a wide variety, whereas say a builder might do 5 or 10 houses a year, but typically they're within a relatively narrow lane, whereas when you're in a merchant or with what we do with the OQS, you're just dealing with this huge range of things. So you've got to be proficient across the whole lot of them. So that sounds like it was a valuable skill. And then I guess the other thing with the merchant background is there's just so much knowledge around products that so builders again are dealing with that particular project and maybe what's specified on it, but you've got 40,000 products in the store that you've got to understand and know which one to use and when, or which ones to source in. So it must have been a big learning curve for you.
Yeah, I did discover very early on that it's going to be impossible to try and remember and to learn every detail and every sort of specification that's out there. So I learned that you really need to have a good system and have a good be able to know where to find things. It's really about not what you know, but who you know, and where you need to find what you need to find out. So obviously these days it's a lot easier.
I was just thinking that
with Google and things like that.
So my merchant experience was in the 90s and it was pre-internet. And I remember one of our customers ringing out wanting a cedar shed or something, and where do we find that? And having to ring around the other branches and look in phone books and things. Whereas you jump on Google and boof, you're there.
So it was quite good working in the merchant. There were a lot of other staff there that were really knowledgeable, and they had good connections. They knew suppliers, they knew the wholesalers, they knew the importers, and they had those connections. And I learned at that stage that it's good to be able to connect with people and to start forming relationships throughout the industry. It doesn't matter sort of what part of the industry that people are involved with. It's good to make some relationships, to make a connection, because you never know when you might need to, use that person to help you in different situations.
Yeah, I think it's easy to underestimate just how much value the merchants actually add to the process.
Yeah.
So, just the coordination of that information, as well as the sort of logistics of moving materials through the process, that they actually are, surprisingly a big part of actually making the industry work.
Yeah, you can't build a building without the materials. It doesn't matter how good and efficient your builders are and how skillful they are. If the materials are not on site, then they're just going to be standing there. So definitely having a good merchant, a good supplier, a good account manager as well. And it's a lot of builders will say you've got to get a good team. You've got to put a good team together. And so some of them discovered that, okay, if we're nice to the estimators, then we can get our plans and our pricing back a little bit quicker than what we normally would.
So you said you were with them for 6 years. So what was your next move after that?
Within that 6 years, I probably should mention that they started to build up. That was around 2002. And around that area was really busy. Everyone was busy. They were getting so busy that they had a frame and truss plant was part of their one of their branches. So it was really small. So they moved into a big new plant out in Wiri, where a lot of the frame and truss manufacturers are. They got a big factory there. They worked with MyTech to bring in the first automated nailers into New Zealand as well. So that was all interesting, seeing all that sort of come to fruition. So they were doing night shifts as well. That's how busy they were. And once the automated nailer came in, so running 2 lines of production. So once the automated nailer came in, it pretty much replaced one of those lines. Yeah. And so that was interesting. So they sent me out there to do some actual frame and truss detailing, not just for estimating, but at the actual jobs that would be manufactured in the factory and then go out onto site. So it was really good doing that. And then just seeing that whole process, it was all in one place. So the frame and truss detailers were upstairs, and then you could see on the floor, see everything coming together, and then see that process of them being stored, stacked and stored, ready to go out onto site, and then see them getting shipped out onto site. So that was a good part of that little experience that I had working for the merchant.
So what caused you to move on?
So what caused it was 2008. Yeah, right. 2008. If you know, you know. Yeah. So that's when things really slowed down, and they picked this particular company didn't pick a very good time to expand. Yeah. So unfortunately, the work dried up, and they couldn't sustain that, and so. I was there, and I could see that when I first started, we were about 3 estimators, 3.5, and then when I finished there, we're about 7.5. So they had ramped up quite a bit, and the jobs just stopped flowing in.
It's a big range builder.
Yeah, part of working as a frame and truss detailer, they taught us how to learn how to use AutoCAD. Yeah, so got a lot of experience, on the job experience, learning how to use AutoCAD. And while I was there, instead of doing some QS papers, working towards that, I actually did some architectural drafting papers. So I was doing that at nights at Unitech. And so when everything slowed down, I thought, there's no work. I've always wanted to get into doing a bit of drafting, so I thought I'll have a go at doing that at that time when there wasn't much work. Yeah.
And how did that go? How long were you doing the drafting for?
Yeah, so everything was slow. So I was just. Actually, at that time, I was kind of just jumping from building back to building. You know, you had that building background. So as I say, you can always fall back on it. So I did. Went back to building. My dad and my friend from church, they were still building at the time. So I would go back and work with them. I would do some drafting jobs as well. There was no licensing back in those days. Right. So fortunately, I was able to get some jobs that put through council. For various people, a few friends and things like that. Still had the estimating as well. So there was a builder who wanted a sort of part-time QS to come on board. So I started working with him. So yeah, it's kind of just jumping from
whatever you got.
Whatever. I was hustling basically.
Yeah. How long were you doing that for?
So I was doing that for a few years, and then I also things got really slow. So when things get that slow, you think about, maybe I need to go to school. So I went and started doing some more papers, sort of full time. And around that time, I was newly married and started having a young family. So yeah, that was a busy, very busy, should I say, time of my life.
Yeah.
But yeah, that didn't last long. My wife sensibly told me, you can't.
Got to go get a job.
Yeah, you got to go get something solid. So that's when I knocked on the door of Keith A. Homes, which was also around another corner. Yeah, still in Mount Roskill. Yeah, and then started working for them as a QS.
Right.
Yeah.
And how long were you doing that for?
I think I was with them for about 4 years. Yeah, working for them for about 4 years. So again, I door knocked on their door. So
what sort of systems did they use? How did they go about QSing?
Yeah, so they used a software called Buildmaster. Yeah, so that was sort of my first introduction into using software for costing and pricing. Before that was just manual takeoffs, then inputting it into Excel spreadsheets, and that's how we did things at the merchant. And then sort of similar working for the builder. I was doing a bit of project management, bit of costing, bit of everything, as you do for working in the office of a small builder. Got to do a bit of everything. And then with Keith A. Homes, like I said, they were using software called Buildmaster, and so that was my first introduction. It was really good. So it was a good opportunity again to learn different software and what that does to, you import the plans and trace the plans, and it comes up with your areas and links and everything like that. And one of the things that I did learn about that was that it was external software. So it wasn't Keith A. Homes software. It was software that they licensed from external source. Yeah. And so there was another dynamic around using that software. And that was interesting as well. Yeah.
So what are you meaning by that? Yeah.
So one of the difficulties that we found with using it was trying to understand how they got their figures. Being used to doing things on manually, you could see, like, if I had to look at at the merchant, the QS that trained me, if I had to look at his paper, apart from his doctor's handwriting, I could get a little bit of an idea of what he was calculating, how he was calculating it. And so we were taught to write things down so that if anyone needed to check over our figures, and that they could understand how we got to where we got to. And so the difference with the software is you can't really you couldn't in this case see how they were coming up with the figures that they were coming up with. And so using my manual takeoff or using an Excel spreadsheet to check things, and when things weren't quite lining up the way you thought they would, you couldn't really know the reason why. Right. And it was very difficult to ask them what the reason why was as well. So that was probably one of the biggest the support or lack of support that we found around using that software. Yeah.
So, because Keith A, they build quite differently. They're quite a different business to most building companies. So
yep.
What was your sort of thoughts of that from experiencing sort of more traditional building to how Keith A go about things?
Yeah. So again, another great opportunity to learn a different part of the industry. So that's the offsite manufacturing. It was really good. I started with the Keith A, so I knocked on their door. They didn't actually have a job but they could see, he's done a bit of building, done a bit of estimating with a merchant, bit of drafting skills. oh, we need to find this guy a job. So that's kind of how I started working with them. They said, well, for now you can go work with our maintenance division. So I worked in maintenance, and then they said, oh, with one of the builders will take you on so you can work with him and get to learn the buildings and the systems and how everything works. So even with Keith Hay, I worked through in quite a lot of the different steps of the process of how they build. And that was quite interesting as well. And I was fortunate to work alongside one of the builders who had been working with them for over 15 years. One of the things that a lot of the builders, and through my time there, I did, there was a lot of builders that came and went. And what the builders would say was that the square meter rates that they're offering are too tight, and they just couldn't make it work.
Right.
And so from this builder, I learned that, so he was a one-man band. So he only had to split the money up between himself and himself. Yeah. So that was one of the first things that he did for his efficiencies. Yeah. And then he just basically, all the different types of buildings. So they have different types, different sizes. He would have all his measurements and everything already set. He knew what all the measurements were. And so he also had systems where he was able to work efficiently because he was building on his own. And my dad as well, he had a lot of those. My dad being from the East Coast and having that, that number 8, sort of wire mentality, especially when you're in those isolated rural areas, that you got to come up with ways to make things work and to do things better and to, be more self-reliant. And so that carried through. And then this builder with Keith Hay Homes, he kind of had a similar thing. If he's building on his own and he's got to try and do a two-man job by himself, how can he do that? What does he need to do? So he was able to build a complete house, Keith Hay Homes, all by himself, and he just learned ways of how he could do that. Yeah. Or if he needed a lift, he would do it. He would line it up so when a delivery is coming, or when the production manager is going to make his weekly visit, or just things like that, then he would be able to get that hand that he needed at that time. Yeah, so it was really good to learn that in those, even in the building side of things, more sort of practical ways of how to be more efficient. And I think that the real efficiencies with Keith Hay Homes actually just came more from the builders as opposed to
the fact it was offsite.
So the good thing about the offsite building that I learned a lot about that sort of space. There's a lot of companies that have started up doing offsite manufacturing in factories. And it was interesting to see that, because Keith Hay Homes just built in yards. Yeah. They didn't have roofs and things like that. But it was interesting to see that that still didn't stop them from building quite efficiently, and there wasn't necessarily the need to have
the weather wasn't the issue. Yeah.
No, it wasn't the issue. Yeah, there were a lot of other things, but having all the materials just on site in the yard, that was one big one. So you weren't waiting for materials to arrive. So they'd have big pole sheds where all their materials for the whole house would just be stored in the pole sheds. So those sort of things. There's a lot of other efficiencies for offsite that can be done without the need of a factory. So,
and they also own businesses up the supply chain as well. So they sort of almost had a in-house supply chain for a lot of what they did.
Yeah. So also in Mount Roskill at their head office, they also had their Roskill Timber and Hardware, which was the timber merchant for Keith Hay Homes for their houses. Not just in Auckland, they would also supply all their other branches in the North Island. So it's just the South Island that would go through the other merchants. Yeah, so that was interesting as well. So I got to work in there too. So work pulling orders and packing orders and driving the hoist around and loading trucks and things like that. So which I didn't get to do when I was at the merchant.
Right.
Yeah. So that was another good good experience. So that was really interesting. And just to see how, everyone along that chain didn't quite know how the other person
the
works.
Next step worked.
Yeah. And so without really understanding it, there tended to be a little bit of blaming or passing the buck, as it were, to the other steps along that chain and the other departments along that chain. So that was really good as well. So it really helped me to work at Keith and then just to understand, how the designers work, and then how it goes from them through to the QS team, and then from the QS team through to the merchant, or through to the timber supplier team, and then how it'll go from them on site. And so there was always a little bit of a conflict between the production managers and the QSs. They would always say that our quantities were wrong, and we would always say that they were building it wrong. So, and a lot of the times they would forget that there was another step, and that was the supplier, the merchant.
Right. Yeah.
And so were they actually supplying it properly? We always thought that our numbers were right, our quantities were right. So maybe the merchant maybe they weren't pulling the right order. Yes, but it was very interesting to
it's sort of almost like the whole building industry in like a little microcosm.
Yeah, it is.
And I guess that's sort of where they achieve their efficiencies from, is sort of understanding the process and understanding how to make them all sort of mesh together as efficiently as possible. And they had the opportunity to be able to do that.
Yeah, I think that definitely was their intention or what they wanted it. But they forget that you have to add people into that process as well. Yeah. And so a big part of that process or that efficiency comes from the people and the relationships that they have with each other. And I think there was where I really learned that a big part of the building industry is people and being able to work
and their relationships
with people and have good relationships, good working relationships with people. Yeah.
And sort of collaborating to having a joint vision and looking to achieve a joint outcome, and everybody sort of pulling together towards that outcome, as opposed to, I think a lot of the building industry tends to be quite adversarial. So sort of they were able to create this environment where everybody was ideally working together to achieve a common outcome.
Yeah, that was definitely the aim, and on the most part that would work. Yeah, but there was always
people are people.
People are people, and there was always one step in the chain that would always become stuck. So which is that's also something to learn and to learn from.
So how did you end up at your QS then?
After when I was first building, I started my apprenticeship, but I never finished. And when I was at Keith Hay, I originally knocked on their door and asked, one, can I have a job? And two, could I possibly work to finish my apprenticeship off? Because I do eventually, I still want to finish it. And so that was part of the deal, going and working with them. I was doing what I was doing, and in a big, I think, what are they, 85 years? Yeah. 85 years they've been around now. So in a big organization like that that's been around for 85 years, if you're doing what they want you to do, then
it's all good.
It's all good. It's all good. So I guess, I didn't see things progressing how I wanted it to progress. And I thought, I'm not getting any younger. So while my body's still, at that time, was still able to build, I'll try and get back on the tools. And by that time, it was busy again. Things were busy, and I thought, now's a good time to jump back into building. And so that's what I did, jump back into building. And again, had some really good builders that I built with. So this time I was building with a lot of residential renovation builders and a lot of builders that were doing architectural renovations as well, and a lot of bungalow and villas. So up until then, I really didn't work on many bungalows and villas. But yeah, that was really good to be able to work on those with those builders. And unfortunately, I wasn't as tough as the old man was. He was building up until his mid 70s, but my body wasn't. I blame it on the rugby. So my body sort of couldn't keep up with the building, and so again, fortunately, I was able to get off the tools and get back into some of the other things that I had skills in. And at the time, I actually was on ACC, so I sort of had a bad back, as a lot of builders do and can relate to. And so that it was at that time where I thought, I'll see what else is on offer going around. And I went to the Build NZ Expo at that time. So that was 6 years ago.
Yeah.
And I thought, I really want to become a part of an organisation that's sort of making a difference, trying to improve the industry, working in so many different areas of the building industry. You see a lot of good things, but then you see a lot of bad things, and you see a lot of things that need to improve and can get better. And I guess I got from my old man another thing is that, if something's broken, then you fix it, or at least you try to. And so that's really what I wanted to become involved with. And so I went along to the Build NZ Expo, seeing what different people were doing. I didn't quite make it around to everybody, and I was planning to go the next day, but being a husband and a father, those duties, while I wasn't at work, I was called upon to do those duties. So I just looked up online on the online exhibitors to see who was there and what they were doing, and that's when I come across York US, a company called York US, and I could see that they were doing something different. Obviously, being involved with the architectural design and drafting and the estimating and the quantity surveying, I could see that York US was definitely innovative and doing things that I hadn't seen before with the 3D modeling and things like that. And again, my door knocking, I gave yourself a call, and the rest is history. So
it's been great having you on the team all that time. So I can remember meeting you and sort of just hearing your passion for the industry and what you're able to bring. And we were growing really quickly at that time. I guess like everybody, has been pretty tough over the last few years, so we haven't quite grown so quickly. And so we were a team in my downstairs bedroom.
Yeah, that's right.
You joined us back then. So And so how have you found it? I guess, not a loaded question. You can say whatever you like. No. So what did you start off doing with us when you first started with us?
Yes, so I first started as at the time, one of the young, I can't remember whether she was an intern or one of the young girls that was working there. Fortunately, my door knocking was at a good time, and someone was moving on, and I was. I think there was a couple of weeks left, and then I came on board, and I was doing what she was doing, which was modeling, building up the 3D models for the projects. So that's taking the 2D plans. And then building up the 3D model in the software. Yes, so that was the first
and what are
first
you doing,
role I had.
What are you doing now for us?
So now I'm involved with preparing the fee proposals. Which is our cost or our price for us to provide a cost estimate for that particular projects to the builders or designers or homeowners. So my role is just to work out that fee, calculate that fee, and present that to the customers.
And obviously a big part of that is the scope of work, is basically trying to understand the drawings, draw out our understanding of the scope of works, and then work with the client to make sure we've understood it correctly, so that the fee's based on what they're wanting us to do. Yeah.
And throughout the years, I've come to understand that the scope of works is one of the most important documents in the whole, across the whole process of the building process. And I remember a lot of the times on when we were building, especially with the renovations, if you don't know what the scope was or is, a little bit of Chinese whispers. So the boss will tell the site foreman, "Oh, this is what we need to be doing." The site foreman will tell the team leader, "Yeah, this is what we need to be doing. We need to pull this down, pull that out, rip this down." And then the team leader will tell the builder, and the builder will tell the apprentice. And then by the time the apprentice goes to do the job, he's doing the complete wrong project. So ripping down walls that he shouldn't have ripped down. And yeah, once the boss comes to do his rounds, that's when we find out what the scope was meant to be.
Yeah, it was a bit the same for us, I guess. When we first, early on, we would work out the fee and we'd get on and do it, and then we'd supply it to the client, and they'd say, "Oh no, you shouldn't be doing this, and you need to do that." So the whole idea behind trying to elaborate that scope of works right at the beginning is flush out any issues. So often you're having communication with the clients to resolve things where we maybe have interpreted wrong or misunderstood things, or maybe there's work that they want done that's not actually on the drawings. So making sure we've got all of that. So when we set the fee, we're setting the fee for the work we're actually doing, but then also when they get the result is what they're expecting to get.
Yeah, I think especially with our fee proposals, it's really important for everybody because it just helps the whole process get done more efficiently. And especially with our builders, that they need to present a cost to their client. And if we can get the scope, understand the scope right from the beginning, then we can do it once, do it right, do it well.
And that was sort of something I realised early on as well, is that it's all very well us communicating to the builder what we've done, but I realised the builder's got the same issue with their clients. So if we can make it easier for them to communicate to their clients what the price includes, that actually helps them be more successful with winning the job. Yeah,
and definitely on site as well. It helps with on site, just with the guys, and coming from that, I'm biased to builders as well, being a builder, and just understanding even the labourers and things like that. If they know what the scope is and what their job is, they're not going to get in trouble, or they're not going to do something wrong. And then if the builder knows what his scope is, then he knows what he needs to be allowing for in his costs. And when I went to the show and started looking up online what people were doing, and I saw the 3D model and the visual costing, that to me was that's a game changer in the industry, because that really helps everyone to visually see what's included, what's excluded, what's part of the scope of the project.
Yeah, it's the old story, a picture tells 1,000 words. So you can write so much, but having a picture makes it really clear. And you don't, and a lot of, you talked about understanding, being able to understand drawings. And like within the building industry, a lot of people don't understand drawings, but you think outside the building industry, it's even more of a challenge. So the whole idea behind the 3D screenshots, the 3D visualization, is non-building industry people can actually appreciate and understand exactly what's being talked about on their particular project.
I think, definitely I've come to understand that, especially working with so many different people in so many different parts of the industry, a lot of people need different ways to help them understand things. Some people need color. Some people need things in three dimensions. Some people actually need to touch and feel things. I think at one of the building companies I was with, I think 7 literal changes to a bathroom was carried out. So they'd break it down, rebuild it, break it down.
So they actually had to see the result.
So they had to see. It was literally broken down and rebuilt 7 times. And we always say that the last one was almost identical to the first.
I guess that's the joy of dealing with clients.
So I think a lot of builders can relate to that, working with clients. And so I've always thought there's a lot of technology is going to be a big part has a big part to play in helping things be understood better, or helping things run more efficiently. Things like virtual reality and all those different things for people to be able to visualize things as much as possible. I even thought about maybe we need some prop builders or things like that,
mock up what they're going to get.
We just found that a lot of clients until they're actually standing in the space, they don't know what they're getting until that point. And by that point, it's a lot of work's being done. But it's been interesting and good to see the changes that have been made over the years.
It's great having you on the team and with your building experience, being able to use you as a sounding board, that when we strike something that we aren't sure of, or for us, we put a lot of work into understanding how different building elements work and understanding what the costs are, and basically build that into the system. So being able to tap your knowledge and experience to ensure we get that looking right and working well, so that then when doesn't matter which one of our team is doing the work, effectively they're using your experience and knowledge is actually flowing through what they're creating. So it's been great having your experience and your contribution to what we're doing in your QS.
Yeah, no, it's been good, and it's been good to be that to be recognized, and then it also makes me appreciate the knowledge that I've picked up along the way and the opportunities that I've been fortunate enough to have. I call myself a jack of all trades, master of none.
So sort of know the feeling.
Yeah. I think, but I wouldn't change it. I really enjoy having all those experiences, and not just within the building industry, also into other areas of life as well.
Certainly appreciate having a chat with you. Are there any other sort of burning issues or things that we haven't talked about yet that you want to raise?
No, I can't think of anything. But just at this time of year, just want to appreciate. Obviously, 6 years ago. Taking on a guy that just comes knocking at the door based on what they've seen on an expo. And I appreciate that opportunity, and the opportunity to work with your QS and just see how it's grown and developed and being on that journey.
We're still on the journey. So, and I guess the theme of today was sort of lifelong learning. So I guess if you've listened through what Taki's talked about, you can see how his experience is built to where he's at and what he's contributing to our team. And for me, my experience is built on everything that I've done until now, and sort of UOQS is sort of the ultimate expression of sort of where I'm up to in my life. But we've got a lot more coming. So a lot of more exciting things we're working on. We've still got 2 full-time developers working on stuff, and we're pooling ideas from Taki and myself and all the others in the team, as well as everybody we talk to in the industry. So we've got some exciting stuff coming next year. So thanks everybody for listening. If you want to work with a QS that really understands what's going on in building and has got a great team of people to support them, then get in touch with your QS. And if you like what you've seen today, then follow us or look in the notes in the comments and click on the link and be one of the cool kids.